Thank you for joining us tonight, Bailey. This is my cultural informative speech. The diet of the Hunza people. Most of us have heard the saying, you are what you eat. But what if it's not as much about what you eat, but what you don't eat? What if I told you there were people in the world that lived to be in their hundreds and chronic disease, like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, those kinds of things, cease to exist? Today we will be discussing the diet and lifestyles of the Hunza people. Being a holistic health practitioner for over 5 years now, I've seen firsthand what food can do for a person, and when my clients realize that they can take control of their health by making different choices, it's incredible to witness the growth and confidence that they have in being able to take care of their own body, and they have a hunger for food that nourishes their cells and not the self. To get a better understanding of a typical menu for the Hunza people, let's take a look at their history, their origin. Let's look at the kind of foods that they eat, and then we can look at their diet and how it relates to their health. Let's look at the origin. Where do they live? They live high in elevation. They live near the base of the Himalayas in the Hunza Valley, the Gilgit-Baltistan region of Pakistan. The people live in nature. They're all about sustainable living. They can only grow food for short period times of the year due to how cold it gets. So at the end of winter, they run out of food, and they fast and hibernate, so to speak, for about a month till it's warm enough to start farming again. What are the people like? Active lifestyles, lots of walking. Being that agriculture is dominant in that land, they get a lot of vitamin D from being outside in the sun, and they get mineral-rich water, and their air is clean. They have no crime, they have no army, they have a low divorce rate, no police, they have little to no sickness, and chronic disease doesn't exist. They don't have a word for it. Now that we know a little bit about these people and where they live, let's look at what they eat. So let's focus first on what it is that they do consume. First, they focus on the soil. They put organic matter back into the soil, and they take care of their soil because they know if they have healthy soil, it will take care of their seeds and produce for them. Apricot kernels are what they are known most for, especially the apricot kernel oil. Grains are sprouted. They use raw goat milk and butter and cheese, and they consume small portions of meat and ghee, mostly on holidays. So they're not vegans, but they consume mostly vegetables and a little bit of meat and dairy. A common dish that they make is chopped sorrel, and I couldn't upload a picture on here, but I did attempt to make it, and this was my first attempt. This is not at all what it's supposed to look like. This is my second attempt. It resembles it slightly, but I highly encourage to not make something that looks like this, but maybe look up some recipes and do a little practice. I should have practiced a little bit more, but the meat tastes good, so that's a plus. Let's see what else they eat. Children, they were breastfed. Boys for 3 years and girls for 2. And their meals throughout the community, it's usually about 2 a day and no snacking in between. So now that we know a little bit about what they eat, let's look at what they don't eat. So they apply the same principles to the soil as they do to their food. With their soil, they don't add anything. They no fertilizers, no herbicides, no sprays, nothing like that. Same thing when it comes to their crops. They don't add anything, they don't enrich anything. When it comes to their animals, they don't pump them full of medications and antibiotics. No processed food, no fast food, no Carl's Jr. They drink mostly water and tea, and As I said earlier, at the end of winter, they have a fast when they run out of food. They can't just get anything at their convenience, and they fast for about a month. So what does what they do eat and don't eat have to do with their health? Let's look at how their diet impacts their overall health. Are they even healthy? As stated by the Global Dialogue Foundation, people manage to live over 100 years of age in perfect mental and physical health. That's a quote directly from them. It is not out of the norm for a male to father a child at 90 years of age. There's no dental deformities. Health and happiness seems to flow through these people. From Sir Robert McCarrison and Studies in Deficiency, his book Studies in Deficiency Disease, 1921, he writes that the Hunza people, appendicitis, which was rampant in Europe, ceased to exist here. He also pointed out, and I quote, "It became obvious that the enforced restriction to the unsophisticated foodstuff of nature is compatible with long life, continued vigor, and perfect physique. If the people of the Hunza Valley had any recommendations for the people in America, what would they be? Eat fresh food. Eat organic and as local as possible. Who feeds you? We should know where our food comes from." One of my favorite food writers and activists, Michael Pollan, from his book, Food Rules, an Eater's Manual, he sums up that we should eat food, mostly plants, and not too much. Now that we know a little bit about the lifestyle and diet of the Hunza people, maybe we can apply some of their values to our life, and maybe it can improve our health and overall well-being. By focusing on clean, mineral-rich water, organic foods, and body movement, we can be that much closer to understanding and living a life in line with the Hunza people. Remember, it's not always about what you eat, but what you don't eat.